Hello, I'm Mrs. Davis, and today the book we're looking at is Goodnight Mister Tom by Michelle Magorian. This is an excellent little book about the Second World War and a young evacuee named Willie Beech. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Meeting. "Yes," said Tom bluntly on opening the front door. "What do you want?" A harassed middle-aged woman in a green coat and felt hat stood on his step. He glanced at the armband on her sleeve. She gave him an awkward smile. "I'm the billeting officer for this area," she began. "Oh, yes? And what's that got to do with me?" She flushed slightly. "Well, Mr. Oakley. Thomas Oakley." "Ah, thank you, Mr. Oakley." She paused and took a deep breath. "Mr. Oakley, with the declaration of war imminent," Tom waved his hand. "I knows all that. Get to the point. What do you want?" He noticed a small boy at her side. "It's him I've come about," she said. "I'm on my way to your village hall with the others." "What others?" She stepped to one side. Behind the large iron gate which stood at the end of the graveyard were a small group of children. Many of them were filthy and very poorly clad. Only a handful had a blazer or coat. They all looked bewildered and exhausted. One tiny, dark-haired girl in the front was hanging firmly onto a new teddy bear. The woman touched the boy at her side and pushed him forward. "There's no need to tell me," said Tom. "It's obligatory and it's for the war effort." "You are entitled to choose your child, I know," began the woman apologetically. Tom gave a snort. "But," she continued, "his mother wants him to be with someone who's religious or near a church. She was quite adamant. Said she would only let him be evacuated if he was." "Was what?" asked Tom impatiently. "Near a church." Tom took a second look at the child. The boy was thin and sickly looking, pale with limp sandy hair and dull grey eyes. "His name's Willie," said the woman. Willie, who had been staring at the ground, looked up. Round his neck, hanging from a piece of string, was a cardboard label. It read William Beech. Tom was well into his 60s, a healthy, robust, stockily built man with a head of thick white hair. Although he was of average height, in Willie's eyes he was a towering giant with skin like coarse, wrinkled brown paper and a voice like thunder. He glared at Willie. "You'd best come in," he said abruptly. The woman gave a relieved smile. "Thank you so much," she said, and she backed quickly away and hurried down the tiny path towards the other children. Willie watched her go. So that's just a quick intro to Goodnight Mister Tom by Michelle Magorian. If you liked the sound of that, this book is in my classroom library and you can read it anytime. Have fun!